Well, hello. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome back to church. We've got some new usual suspects. My brother Connor,
Hello, my name is Connor. How's it going, guys?
and we also have a very special guest with us, the Crusader of Carts himself, Cart Narcs.
I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for coming out.
Very big fan. Very big fan. Watching for
Very good.
If it wasn't for Connor, I wouldn't have known about you, buddy.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Connor.
yes, sir. I did have been watching it for a while. I introduced all my friends to you, so we all
Well, let's
we
calm
all
down,
enjoy the.
Connor. Let's calm down.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Let's hop in. How did Cart Narcs originated?
Oh, yeah, pretty straightforward. I always say that I wish I had an origin story. My family was run over by a cart, or I got bit, or something like that. But it's pretty mundane. It was myself and a guy I work with, Greg, in the office one day, just kind of talking about things that annoyed us that people do, uh, at the expense of other people. Yeah, things like that's the common one. Things like not picking up, you know, just all those little common things, and leaving your shop was one that came up on the list. Um, we were talking about ways we could maybe kind of like help stop these things, and the shopping cart was the easiest one because it happens pretty much in one spot, in the parking lot, except for the people that take their carts, halfway down the block, or, videos and pictures from folks every day of random carts in miles from the store. But the shopping cart is the easiest, going out one day and catching folks in the app. What are you thinking? What's your excuse? And that's when the excuse started, and they obviously, as you guys know, they continue to this day.
Sadly.
Sadly, yes. But that's what we're hoping to do, is one person at a time, one video at a time, righting that ship and correcting that course.
Righting the lazy bones' wrongs.
Exactly. Because hopefully the idea is that they'll take the principle of carts and apply it to many other areas of their life. Like I said, littering and
Of course.
doing, not washing your hands, all these things that fall under the category of, well, my time is just too important. I'm going to be lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do notice a correlation. It seems between the way people do, the way they do act in everyday life. I do think that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it translates, because it's never just one, or very rarely it's just one part of your life not thinking about other people.
Mhm.
It tends to permeate your entire existence, like you're saying.
Right.
Did you ever see that one post? I don't remember what website, but it's talking about like how putting your card up is good or bad or whatever, like determines how much of a good person you are.
Yeah, I have seen that. That was, I believe, the of all places, the origin of that. If you look at the formatting, is 4chan.
Yeah.
Which 4chan, for folks who don't know, is the Wild West of the internet. It's very gross, and I don't
Yes.
recommend people go there. But to have something about personal responsibility come out of 4chan was certainly surprising. And it's essentially that it boils down to that returning your cart, as they say in the post, is the litmus test of how good of a human being you are and whether human beings can govern themselves. Basically breaking down the fact that, yes, as people, I get these messages on my DMs every day. People say, well, it's not against the law to leave your cart out. Very true, but that's the whole principle.
Yeah.
It's not against the law to do all sorts of things that are common courtesies and niceties. We just talked about hand washing, for instance. Not against the law not to wash your hands, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and to not do it is simply lazy. And something I haven't talked about publicly is, the guy who claims to have written that post messaged me some time ago and says he didn't want credit or anything, but he was happy to see that it's gotten out so many places, and as am I. It's a pretty well written little mini essay.
Yeah, it's kind of really cool that they like talk to you like publicly, not publicly, but they message you like, "Thank you for your work." Like, that's
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
that's
fun.
nice.
Yeah,
That's very cool, and it's really nice and really gratifying to see. Because I also get a lot of messages, people who say, you know what, I used to leave my cards out, but I now see that I was just being thoughtless, and I've changed my ways. So that's very nice.
funnily enough, today I was at Walmart, like getting groceries with me and my dad, and like we
Hmm.
when it came to putting up the shopping cart, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go put this up," and my dad's like, "Nah, you don't got it. You can leave it there." I was like, "No, I gotta do this, Dad."
That is unfortunate when you're and people they can be redeemed. We all slip in some way. I get that. Nobody's perfect, so I don't blame. And you see this in our videos. We don't blame a single person for a single wrongdoing. We always give them the opportunity to right their wrong. It's when they continue to be problems, obviously, is when. But we post the videos where people are like, you know what, I'm right. You know what, I'm sorry. I apologize, and we praise them heavily. We always
Yes,
say, well, thank you. We really appreciate that. You didn't have to do that. You're a really big person to admit you're wrong. Um, so yeah, so I don't think your father is beyond help, and I'm glad that you're out there setting a good example.
of course. I'll
We'll
write my
have to have
father's
an
sins.
intervention.
Yes, we will. So,
Very nice.
one thing I've kind of wondered, like, have you ever had a physical confrontation with someone, like, who didn't put up their carts, like they were just very physical and you couldn't put it up?
Yeah, there have been a few where folks have tried. People always ask if and they always comment too. I get, people saying, "Oh, you're going to get your ass beat. You're getting punched." And there've been a handful of people that have tried that. The most famous is the guy who spent a good 15 minutes chasing me around the parking lot of a Trader Joe's here out in the LA area. Um, and he specifically said, "I'm going to put you in the ground, or on the ground." And then he like at one point he tried to go full speed at me
Oh,
to catch me, but he was an old fat man, so that wasn't going to happen.
yeah,
Um, and there was a guy in not Fort Lauderdale, Port St. Lucie, Florida, who tried to do the same thing. But I'm not, and I'll get a message, especially like there's a guy named Tony who tried to beat me up. His fist is all raised and he's running at me every day. People saying, "Oh, you're a puss," you're running away from an old man or whatever. And I tell them, look, first off, the Cart Narcs are a non-violent organization.
exactly.
Whether or not I can win the fight, I'm not going to beat up some old man over his being, leaving his cart out. That's not the point. So yeah, people have tried, people have threatened, but we always run away because again, it's not about violence; it's about teaching a lesson.
No, and that is kind of weird how people are like, yeah, you should totally beat up this old man for not putting up his cart. It's like, what, you expect him to just,
You want me to throw down over some old guy over his cart? No, that's not
yeah,
that's not the mission of the Cart Narcs. Yeah, I think, but see, people I think you raise a good point. People who have that attitude, they don't get it to begin with, so they're in this whole weird mindset of we're going to settle our disagreements with physical violence as opposed to learning what the actual principle is and coming out on the other side with a good set of guidelines.
yeah. What was your worst encounter with someone?
Well, I guess worst. There's a couple ways to define worst. Um, boy, the one I think that was the worst from a safety standpoint, which I didn't find out till after the point, was we did this. I think it was in March of this year. I was outside of Texas, outside of Dallas, Texas, in Richardson, and the guy, this big fat guy, he gets out of his truck and he says, "I'm a killer. I'm gonna put 6 in your forehead."
Oh,
Um, yeah, and it turned out. So I posted the video because I thought at first he was just kind of like it was just blowing
just saying
smoke
it.
to talking big, right?
Yeah.
So after posting the video, I got several messages with people sending me links to this news story from I believe it was 2018. That same guy, it looks like, down to he's wearing the same outfit. Basically, it looks like shot a guy on a Dallas train. And first off, I
Yeah.
didn't know they had like metro trains in Dallas. But according to him and according to the bystanders, there was some guy who was causing some sort of ruckus, and according to this man, was threatening people. A guy that, as far as we know, as far as I've seen, was not armed at the time, but our buddy was, who threatened me, was shooting me in the forehead, and he shot this man. Now, I believe that man lived because there's some cell phone video from the scene that shows paramedics attending to him, and he seems to be lucid. And in fact, in the cell phone video, he's like, the cops are like approaching him with his gun, and he's like, "Whoa, okay, man." Now, he was able to claim self-defense. They didn't have any witnesses to say that he didn't do it. He went above and beyond the self-defense requirements. There weren't any videos that we know of.
Right.
So he quote unquote, and again, I wasn't there. Maybe it was totally justified, but given that if he brag about being a killer and brag about shooting someone over asking them to put your card back, really casts doubt onto his state of mind. And so I didn't think anything of it when he first threatened to shoot me. But then when I saw this news report from, 18 months or whatever earlier, I forwarded all my material to the Richardson Police Department. I have heard nothing. And I know numerous people since the videos have come out have tagged them and contacted them. So I know it's impossible that someone in Richardson Police haven't seen my video.
Yeah.
They have not contacted me. I don't know if they've taken other action, because I've had numerous people from Texas who said that this man having a concealed carry permit it makes me look bad, because it shows that he clearly is not responsible. Because the long and the short of it is, when you have a concealed carry permit, that is your last line of defense. That is life and death.
Yeah.
Not hey, this guy put a magnet on my car because I didn't return my cart. So I would say that was the quote worst from a safety standpoint, even though I didn't learn about it till after it was done.
Right. Kind of funny because I also saw that video you posted about it too. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's weird. The other guy that's pulled a weapon. Well, there's been two quote unquote weapons. More the other one was very recently, a month or two ago in Compton here in L.A. The guy was he had a taser, I guess, in his. I think it was either he was wearing a fanny pack over his shoulder, as the style is these days,
Of course.
and he either pulled it out of that fanny pack or he pulled it out of the glove or the panel of his car, the little interior door there. But when he first pulled it out of the car, he was holding it down by his hip like a gun,
Yeah.
like kind of hiding it. Which I didn't see until I had moved away for a little bit. So that was a quote unquote weapon that was pulled on me. And then the lady up, it was, I guess, last winter here, also in California, in the fine suburb of Santa Clarita, who pulled a pepper spray on me after I questioned whether anyone would want to have sex with her. And
what?
oh, that was the one. She's the one who threw like the drinks at me and hit me in the chest with her. Like, she had two drinks on her for some reason. It was also a longer one. She had parked in a handicap area, and she had left her cart in the handicapped access area, which is like the little striped off area next to the parking spot.
Yeah.
Obviously, those things say no parking. That includes carts, because those things are designed to be kept clear for people with scooters, chairs, walkers, canes, etc. And I mentioned to her that, as a person with a disability, she should be extra aware that you shouldn't be blocking those areas. She blah 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 said this and that, left and right. And she tried to show me her MRI, and I said, "Look, I get all that." And then, and in the course of all this, she admitted she could have taken her cart back, because she had walked her groceries to her cart, loaded her. It was a big lifted truck. Climbed up into the truck and back out several times to yell at me and throw stuff at me. But she was she was wearing that quote unquote the handicap placard, like a vest or a badge against personal responsibility, in my estimation. And then as she kept on saying, "Well, you don't know what's inside my body," I made the offhand remark that I don't think a lot of people want to be inside her body. And that's when she pulled out her pepper spray and tried to. But of course, again, people are like, "Oh, you ran away from a woman." No, I ran away from pepper spray, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, I'm not going to take it in the face for no reason. This is not the point of what we're doing. The point is to get folks to turn their lives around, do the huge thing of being humble, admitting you're wrong, and take your cart back.
Yeah. Also, you're not just gonna charge a lady that's running at you either. What?
Right. Exactly.
Uh,
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you outside of Cart Narcs?
right, right,
Well,
yes.
first off, Cart Narcs 24/7 job, obviously. But beyond that, no, I went to school for chemical engineering at Georgia Tech, and which is obviously not what Cart Narcs are. Um, and then when but at the same time I was graduating, got an internship at a radio company there in Atlanta, and I did both for a while. I went to graduate school part time for a while, but I just couldn't juggle all three of those things together. And the broadcasting and sound design, editing, and stuff like that eventually kind of where I found myself. Um, so it helps with audio and video editing. Obviously, for Cart Narc stuff, I'm able to do all that by myself pretty easily. So that's very helpful. And that's kind of where I am now.
Right, right. What do you do when you're not narking on carts?
Oh, for like my leisure time? Well, obviously
Yeah,
you got to train. You got to get your Cart Narcs training in. I
cool.
just came from doing, some body work exercises. And actually, I will say this: Cart Narcs gotten me interested in self defense. And for almost a year now, doing Krav Maga style, which is like Israeli army inspired. So the idea there is how to disarm people who come at you with weapons, how to get out of fights, how to deal with multiple attackers, stuff like that. So it's very like it's designed to be very very practical. Not that other martial arts aren't by any means, but this is like no rules. Like this is how to save your life if no matter where you are, sort of style, and it's been very helpful.
Yeah, especially with all those people pulling out pepper sprays and being like, "I'm gonna sue you."
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, the best thing for that is just being a decent runner. And I do a lot of that. It's where I do more like interval training for running than like the slow jog. Um, because you people who do nothing wrong with that. I'm glad they're getting out there, but what are you training to do? Dark situation. I've got to move, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards maybe as fast as possible. No one out there is going to chase me further than that. And plus, once you move out of that range, you're out of all kinds of problems with from obviously fists, but certainly up to guns. So that's sprints and agility is the main focus, Cart Narcs wise, because that's where the immediate danger is.
Right, right. Are you a gamer?
Not recently, but I do enjoy. I mean, everyone enjoys video games, obviously.
Yeah,
I just don't find that I have the time these days. It's that old thing that some people's parents told them that video games are a waste of time. And look, I grew up playing video games, enjoy them immensely, and I will admit they are a waste of time. Now, that can be a lot of fun. It can be a great social activity with your friends, great for bonding, great, it's there's all kinds of fun aspects of video games. But no, it's not a quote unquote it's not as productive as, let's say, studying a new language, et cetera, working at a job, whatever.
right,
So I enjoy it, but I don't think I'll be able to get back into them until maybe I retire someday, because I just won't have the free time.
right. Do you feel appreciated for being a cart narc?
It's nice. It's very. I get it. It would be strange if like I only got hate messages, but it's really the other way around. It's like 90-10. It's and my favorite thing is when I'm in the middle of a narking, and somebody who knows, because I wear obviously the vest, and it's got it says Cart Narcs on the front of my vest and the back of my vest, so I'm very visible on who I am and what I'm doing. And when someone who's a fan like, "Hey, Cart Narcs," in the middle of like someone arguing with me, it's fantastic because it immediately deflates that person who's trying to argue with me.
Yeah,
They're like, "Oh, great, this is a thing," and obviously I look like, not only do they look like an a-hole to me, they're like, "Oh, the rest of the community around me thinks I'm an a-hole." That is the point of, and that kind of goes right into another point that people do. The hater messages will say is, "Why don't you just take their cart back for them?" I tell every one of those folks, they will not learn that way.
Yeah.
Human beings are social animals. You know, as a chemical and biomolecular engineer, I'm very well aware of our ancestral heritage and our evolutionary heritage. We take cues on how to behave by looking at our neighbors and the people around us, our family, our friends, and the people in the shopping mall with us. And that's that's imprinted on our animal brains. So that is so nice and so helpful to get that external social cue from those passerbys, those fans, those people who do appreciate what we do. And I think that flips a switch in a lot of people's brains who, are on the initially, at least, the lazy bone side.
Right. Mm, what was the what was your first encounter being a cart narc? Like, how did that go?
Yeah. The first one that really it was weird was this old, like, middle-aged to slightly older couple, and they had left their cart right between their spot and another spot. So sucks for a couple of reasons. Obviously, if a person wants to get into the door of the passenger door of the spot next to them, it's going to be harder, or they'll ding their door, whatever. Um, then they like began to argue, and the guy, like, he takes off his hat, he points to like a little spot on his forehead. He's like, "I'm a cancer survivor," like got a mole removed or something. Like, nothing. None of this has to do, because you walked your cart out to the car just fine. There's two of you, so either one of you could have taken the cart back while the other person's warming up the car. He said, "Oh, it was hot outside." They're throwing all these. They threw 4 or 5 different. The lady's like, "Let's go talk to the manager." And I said, "I don't want to talk to the manager. I want to talk to you." Well, you come with me right now. So they threw a whole gamut of excuses at me, and I was able to deal with most of them, but I didn't have the sort of level of experience that I do now. I get that comment a lot. People are like, "How do you come up with all these answers so fast?" Well, because I've heard all these excuses 100,000 times. I mean, sometimes I hear new excuses, but they're always versions of the old excuses. So it's very rare that I'm hit with something that's totally brand new. Although a few weeks ago, this one lady said she couldn't take her cart back because her boyfriend broke up with her. She was having a breakdown, which was pretty funny. And I told her at the time, that's a new one on me. It has nothing to do with taking your cart back, but it's really interesting to hear people go. So that was and has been a learning experience. But it's the first ones weren't as interesting or funny as or so on and so forth, or well produced from a video and audio standpoint. But that's how you learn, by doing. So we've made small incremental improvements, and I have a lot more improvements I want to continue to make here as we continue Cart Narcs.
Right, of course. Uh, did you ever think that it would take off how it did, like card narcs in general?
Uh, no, it's been weird. It's a weird little mini the journey so far, which I don't think we're nearly done with. Because I worked for this radio station, the show called The Woody Show, and we had it on their channels, like on YouTube and stuff, for a while, and it was fine. People enjoyed it. But then a little over a year ago, we made our own channel, so that I had so much Cart Narcs material, said, okay, this needs to be its own dedicated thing. That's when it really took off, a little over a year ago. And I think that's a lesson in a couple of things. It's a lesson in content specialization and focus. That's also a lesson in kind of, like I said, finding your audience and knowing what they want. But yeah, I didn't think it would be as big, quote unquote, as it is. I'm not a big social media guy, but a lot of people said, I just got 100,000 on YouTube, and a bunch of people sent me messages and said that's great, and I'm gonna get some kind of plaque or something.
Yeah.
That's nice. And then Instagram, the people who really love it are World Star Hip Hop, of all people. A few of our videos. That's where I get a lot of the hate messages too. Because fortunately, at least from my experience, it seems that people who enjoy World Star Hip Hop do not enjoy taking their carts back to a large degree. Because every time they post one, I'll have like 400 messages a large number of those are "F you, mother effer," "How dare you try that with me? I'll punch you," etc., etc., etc. So, but that's also cool because it's gotten some celebrity attention. Guys like who is it? Ice Cube's son. Reese recently posted one of our videos, the actor from the Fast and the Furious movies, but he was not a fan, so I don't know. Need to do some intervention with him.
What a lazy
So
bum.
that's all cool. Yeah, exactly. Well, his lazy bones almost destroyed the Fast and the Furious franchise because he was jealous of The Rock. Is what it seems like, and he wasn't willing to play nice with The Rock.
The Rock?
And I don't, that's the thing. Jealousy. It's a bad trait. Apparently, it goes hand in hand with lazy bones. So
Especially
all
against
that
The
stuff
Rock.
has been exactly. I mean, of all people to pick a fight with,
Yeah.
someone is number one huge, but number two as well loved as The Rock. It's not a smart move. But I think I don't know. I think they made up. Who knows? We'll find out, I guess, next year when the next movie comes out. But anyway, yeah, all that stuff has been unexpected, but certainly nice and welcome.
Right. Do you guys travel often for Cart Narcs? Like, what's
Yeah,
your...
I've been doing that a lot more, especially because we shut it down for like a month or two after when the first sort of travel and social distancing restrictions went into place, just to kind of make sure we were abiding by the right standards and so on. But once that kind of lifted up, and we kind of realized, well, Cart Narcs is a pretty good thing to do, as far as it's not, as far as exposure to coronavirus, because it's outdoors. You can stay 6 feet away from people. You're in the open air. You're not touching anybody. I'm not in any big, no big gathering. So I've been doing a lot as opposed to other stuff. I've been going. Geez, I think I've traveled the most this year than of any year of my life, just by state. I think we went to Salt Lake City area, the Denver area, the Portland area, Las Vegas twice. Arizona, Texas, like in northern Indiana area. I've been all over the place. Probably will be going back to New Orleans next week or the week after. But that serves two purposes. One, people message me and say, "Oh, try that in my city." Okay, I do. I went to
Yeah.
Detroit a couple weeks ago. And number two, it's kind of cool for folks to see, like, oh, that's my local, my local Kroger or Fred Meyer or Publix or Vons or whatever. I'm also learning about all the national grocery stores. It's a nice little two-part thing, and a three-part, of course, is it spreads the message of returning your cart far and wide.
Of course. I had a question and I just like lost it.
Yeah, well, actually, speaking of the travel thing, I was actually booked to go to Hawaii and Australia in March. Obviously, that fell apart for public health reasons, but we will be going back to Hawaii right around Thanksgiving time. Now that they've relaxed their travel guidelines, you got to take a coronavirus test, of course, before you go, but that's not a problem. I'm happy to do it, and because we do have a lot of fans in Hawaii who send us videos and pictures of lazy bones leaving their stuff out, so we're happy to help them out with that.
Right. And if you go to Australia, you can Cart Narc on some kangaroos. That would be cool.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I did a radio interview in Australia a couple weeks ago, and Australia and England, they call them trolleys. So we're gonna have to like get new I'll just say, because they're not gonna know what I'm talking about. I thought to be like the trolley patrol or something. When I head over there, and then I want to go to Canada too, but they still have the same travel restrictions, so to save that for the spring or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's cool, and that's the thing too, is we get like a lot of messages from Europe. They say, because in Europe they have the coin system almost everywhere, which we have here in America, but only really at Aldi. If you have that in your neighborhood, that's where you put a quarter in and it unlocks the cart from the cart next to it. They say it's not as big of an issue in Western Europe because they have the coin system, and I'm all for the coin system because it just shows you 25 cents is all it takes for people to not be lazy bones.
Yeah. How has COVID I know you've talked about this a little bit, but how has it affected Cart Narcs as a whole so far?
Yeah, besides taking like that few weeks off or so, it's we now sanitize. You'll see either we have spray or wipes in all of our anytime we're touching cards, or if you don't see it in the video, it's before and after that touching. it's that's the biggest one. Wearing a mask, which obviously cuts down on audio quality a little bit, but you just try to speak more clearly. But yeah, beyond because we weren't really narking during that hoarding session we had. People buying off all the toilet paper and stuff or whatever. We weren't doing it then because it just didn't seem like the right time to be. People were freaking out anyway. So that's bad. So it was like, yeah, a little bit of a break and then a little bit more cleanliness and sanitization. But like I said, because it is an outdoor activity where I don't have to be really close to anybody. It's not hit us too hard, but that by any means, really.
Right. How's your parents reacted to like?
It's funny you mentioned that because I just my mom was in somewhere on the East Coast, Delaware. She was doing a road trip up to where she's from in New York. And she said she was I got a call from her. She's like, I was at a cell phone store, changing something out on her phone. And they're they do that thing where they transfer all your contacts and so on and so forth. And we have she has an odd last name. So that comes up in conversation a lot. Oh, what's that from? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd have to talk to her more, but one thing led to another. And she mentioned her kids, including myself.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh, I know that guy. He's the Cart Narc. And she's like, what's that? So she's there in, I guess, Verizon or whatever store watching Cart Narc videos. And then again, and so she's like, what the hell's this? Blah, blah. And then apparently she told everyone in my family, which that's not great. Because not that it looks bad on me, but there's a lot of, as you guys have seen, there's a lot of cussing and potential violence in these videos, and that's not the kind of thing that my parents don't care that much, but most families wouldn't want their kid out there putting his life on the line for carts. So right. So I get a had my birthday recently. I get a card from my grandmother like I do every year. She talks about, I hope nobody gets too mad at you doing Cart Narcs. So I'm like, my grandmother, who's like 95.
Oh God.
And I would have never brought this. Yeah, like, oh Jesus. So that just recently happened where they've been exposed to the phenomenon, as the radio show that does it that I'm on, the Woody Show. It's not broadcast where she lives, so she wouldn't be exposed to it just normally. So, but yeah, just all places, like a random contact chat at a cell phone store is how she found out about it. Because you guys know, my face isn't in a lot of the videos, and that's not by design. That's just because it's a body cam for the most part. Right. So that's not a way she would have found out normally. Like, oh, that's my son. It's just, but she was like, oh, that's his voice. Absolutely. So, yes, a strange little coincidence. And then I guess I'll probably be home for Thanksgiving. We'll see how that conversation goes.
Where you get the round table of family, like, oh,
yeah, tell us all about it.
So,
are there any big things on the horizon coming up for Cart Narcs? Anything new coming?
Yeah, we're looking at, and I've got all the equipment for this. I just haven't taken the time. I need to set aside the right time. We want to set up some drone operations. We've got like a speaker and microphone set up with a drone. We want to be able to do for more, high tech overhead footage. That's one thing. Looking at sort of like a spy cam, like a van sort, so you could get a second angle. Because that's actually really, I've done it a few times where I've gotten a guy and he's on a walkie-talkie, and that is super helpful because when you're there between bars and you're watching one person, you do lose having like a spotter out there is super helpful. So if I could have like a setup, with a second person, that'd be awesome because you can all the time. I'll be following somebody, watching them. And I'll turn around, go back to where I just was, and there's like two carts left out. And I'm like, where the hell did they come from? And it'd be cool if I had, and I've done it a few times, and it's been nice to have somebody like just to, hey, check it out, so-and-so, and the blue sedan over there. That's, right. Technical stuff that we're looking to keep on adding on.
Have you ever thought about having like other Narketeers with you, like just a set?
Yeah, it's come up to have like a secondary unit or to do like if you ever watch like Cops or Cheaters or Live PD, there's like a whole camera crew that shows up, which I think I don't know. See, on one hand, I think that people get so angry with me because they think they can just bully me because I'm just one guy and
Yeah,
like you try to fight me like we were talking about. Um, so I think we would lose some possibly if a whole crew of people showed up with cameras. But then again, there may be a whole other, you know, list of behaviors that I've not expected so far that I'm yet to see. So I will probably try that at some point just to see what it's like, to see what kind of different reactions. If it does help people, like we were talking about, if it kind of it was more of a social pressure on like, hey, this is wrong, just do the right thing. Maybe they flip out even more. Who knows? We'll find out.
right. Yeah, just imagine now putting up your cart, and then the cart narc comes out. Then this whole horde of camera crews like, we're gonna ask you politely to put this up.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is I want to at some point reach out to people who've been narked, see if they would sit down, not with me probably, but with someone else for like an after, a post interview.
Yeah.
Um, so that'd be another next layer, we could do.
Oh,
And also another layer, which would be fun, is all these people that send me these hate messages on Instagram and Facebook and wherever, show up because they always say, you try that with me, I would blah, blah, blah. We could obviously find out where they live, get a private investigator, and it would take a lot of time and waiting and so on and so forth. Show up. I think there was a show on MTV years ago where they would find people that were hating online and they would just show up to people's houses. I don't know, maybe it was like 10, 15 years ago. I think some wrestler hosted it, but similar idea, but with these Cart Narcs haters.
right. Oh, that would be so funny. Someone just talking crap on you in the DMs, and you go to their local like Walmart, and you're like, hey,
How's it going?
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
no,
gonna,
because we post those screenshots, especially on our Instagram stories, and it's always
yeah,
them little skinny, and people are just laughing at them because they never. That's the one thing. They're always they are terrible spellers, poor grammar. It just goes to show you that like it's not a smart, intelligent, and mature thing to do to leave your carts out just by the people that send me hate messages.
right. Especially to go out of their way too to be like, F you, I'm not putting up my cart. I'll
Like
fight
first
you.
off, no one asked you. Why,
Yeah,
why are you messaging me to be like? Who cares? Why are you taking the time out of your day to message me?
someone's
But
got a
I guess
guilty
it because I
conscience.
think it's exactly it hurts them deep in their soul because they know that's who they are. They lash out.
Yeah.
So that brings up my next question: will you trademark the uh, phrase "lazy bones"? Because
I
I
don't
could
think I
see.
can. I think it's too common of a phrase. But certainly Cart Narcs is. I've got a trademark pending on, or yeah, trademark pending on Cart Narcs.
Ooh,
I also have proof of concept
right.
figure. All I got to do is say, hey, look at my videos. I was doing this beforehand, and the
Hmm.
trademark office respects that sort of thing. So that's something we're worried about. Really, it's not a big deal. Like it's not like there was God. Speaking of which, there was a guy, some Instagram comedian who's not very funny. I got like 50 DMs the other day, people sending me his video where he did like he was pretending like it was real. He was called himself Cart Carl or something. He was pretending like he was cart narking. Like they were obviously all his friends he was doing it to, but it seemed like he thought he wanted people to think it was real. I don't know. But people will say, oh my God, he's copying your bit. Look, first off, he's terrible. Second off, I don't care because he's not gonna keep on know what he's doing, doesn't want to put enough time into it. So that's the advice I give anybody if they're worried about someone. The very large chances they're not as you or as well as you, or they're not going to be as committed to it because it's your idea and you had the passion behind it. So I just don't worry about that sort of thing.
Yeah, because that is. I don't understand those people that like they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna make this video and make it popular. I'm gonna fake it, have all my friends be
Yeah, well,
horrible actors.
yeah, and a lot of the YouTube prank videos kind of
Oh,
fell. They do that.
yeah,
Um, and that's it's a lower form of content for sure. I mean, there's a reason that Jake Paul is not hosted. I say this all the time. There's a reason that Jake Paul and Logan Paul don't host Saturday Night Live because they're not actually interesting and they're not actually funny. Our audience is a bunch of 11-year-olds.
Right.
They're people are like, well, they got 17 million, blah blah blah, whatever. It's great, but they're not actually interesting. They're not actually funny. So you don't worry about that sort of thing. And like, I differentiate between like, someone trying to copy Cart Narcs to do it and someone doing it as like, cause they enjoy it and they think it's fun. By the way, I got to put a disclaimer out. And I say this to people every day who ask me, can I become a Cart Narc? Because we cannot do not try this at home, et cetera, et cetera. Because if someone does get hurt doing this, we don't want, and obviously we don't want people to get hurt and we don't want the legal problems.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever heard about anyone doing, like, taking it upon themselves to be a card narc and getting hurt?
Not yet. I mean, I've seen like a few kind of half attempt videos that people send me, and I try, if I do recognize them as actual confrontations, I try not to repost those. Like we'll repost on our Instagram, especially like people just taking videos and photos of cards being left out or them taking their cards back, and that's all. Just people observing the world around them. But a handful of times, people have sent what appear to be confrontations, and obviously we can't post that because we don't want to be seen like we're encouraging it.
Right.
But no one's gotten hurt that I'm aware of.
Has anyone big reached out to you to be like, hey, could you come on my show and do this, or come on my whatever?
Shows and stuff. I've done a bunch of podcasts for some folks that are relatively sort of known. Done some radio interviews. Oh, we did a big like 5-minute piece on the BBC on BBC 5 actually a few months ago. I haven't posted it yet on my YouTube page. I don't know if I have the rights to it because they did all the they interviewed me for like an hour,
right?
And they cut it all together with different footage of mine. But it's their editing, so it's their property. So I want to make sure I've got the rights before I post that. So that was cool. But no, nothing huge. Just a handful of celebrities have supported Showdown. Shown their support. Jerry O'Connell, if you're, he's an older guy now, but he's on that new Star Trek series. He was on a bunch of movies in the 90s and 2000s. He's a big fan. Brie Olson, the former porn star, she's a big fan, so I appreciate that. She was one of the Charlie Sheen girls. Almost, it's almost been 10 years since that whole thing happened. So that's cool. But yeah, no big people yet. But I think a lot of that, we're obviously people are just now, all these shows are just now getting started back up in production, especially the late night ones. So I don't think that will happen until, we get out of this whole situation health wise.
Right. So, man, I keep having questions and then I just forget them.
Well, we can always do a follow up, you guys. You guys are have a lot of good questions. Actually, I'm going to head out here in a little bit if that's okay with you guys. I got to get back. Cool. I've got an appointment here in a few. But no, these are good. These are good thoughts. Really good insight there.
I'm glad you think that because sometimes I ask a lot of stupid questions, so I feel good.
Like I said when we talked about like the first time I did Cart Narcs, it wasn't always very good, and I hope it gets even better.
Right.
And you never get better by not practicing. You only get better by practicing. That's the biggest advice out there. A lot of people they're worried they're going to suck and they don't do something, knowing when the reality is, yes, you are going to suck, but doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it will make you suck less and less and less and less and less. That's just doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing. Get the reps in.
That's right. Even if you have about 30 subscribers and you reach out to someone that has a way bigger following than you might get them on your podcast, kids.
That's the other thing too, is you don't know until you ask.
Exactly.
The answer is always no if you never ask. I guess is another way to say that.
So when will you be wanting us to wrap up?
If you don't mind, I got to get going here pretty soon, like in another minute or two, if that's cool.
No, that's very cool. We really appreciate you coming out for this long too.
I know, happy to be here. Like I said, yeah, it's very cool that you guys asked me to talk for a while.
Oh, no problem. Okay, people, you heard the man himself. He's got some carts to go narking, an appointment with some lazy bones. Thank you for coming on, Cart Narcs. Shout out your channel.
Yes, sir. At Cart Narcs on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on TikTok, although I never post on there hardly ever, but I'm on there. At Cart Narcs wherever you want to go.
At Cart Narcs, people. Thank you again for coming on, and we'll catch
Thanks
you
for
on the
having me, guys.
next episode of Church.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.